On to another impressive young person now. The Mail and Guardian is honouring 200 young South Africans from different fields. The 2020 M&G 200 Young South Africans profiles those under or just up to the age of 35 who really stand out in their field of work and study and volunteering. One young leader who's made the list in the section of science and technology is PhD candidate from Wits University Kimberleigh Tommy. Kim joins us via Skype from here in Johannesburg. Kim, thanks so much for joining us. Let me just get through this mouthful very quickly. You're a PhD candidate at the Human Variation and Identification Research Unit at the School of Anatomical Sciences at the University of Witwatersrand. And you were this week announced as one of the South African top 200 young people to keep an eye on. Congratulations on that. But I don't know about you. I normally sit at those kinds of events and I feel like I'm back in high school at prize-giving events where I'm probably just going to get a merit award, if that, where all these perfect students go up and get award after award. But your academic career has been anything but perfect, and yet you received your master's degree with distinction and now a PhD candidate, really standing head and shoulders above many of your peers. Tell us very shortly how your academic career has led you to this point.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, and thank you for the well wishes. Like you said, I was in shock. I didn't believe that I made the list. I think I messaged, everyone was sending me messages and watching it. I kept saying, I think this is the nominees. I don't think this is the final list, and I'm not on the final list. So it was a really big shock. I think it's still sinking in. As for my academic journey, like I said, I wasn't a conventional student. I excelled at high school, but I think that the gap between high school and university is massive, and it's a big learning curve. I actually failed my first year of my undergrad degree, and I didn't fail it by a little. It was quite a hard fail. And I think that just propelled me forward. It became more about how to recover from failure than it did the fear of failure itself. So I did my undergrad. I actually have quite a broad training. I did my undergraduate degree in the School of Animal, Plant and Environmental Sciences at Wits in zoology. And then I met my he's now my former supervisor, Dr. Job Kibi, during one of my classes, and I fell in love with paleontology, and we took it from there. So I did my honors and my master's in paleo. I was very proud of my master's because I managed to finish it in a year, which is pretty quick, and pass it with distinction, which was a highlight coming from someone who thought that they would be academically excluded in their undergraduate. And then I left paleosciences and came to anatomical sciences because I was interested in furthering my own knowledge on human anatomy, on our bodies, so that I could apply it to my studies on evolution.
Now, your research focuses on the evolution of upright walking and how we can apply this knowledge to improve our understanding of how our modern lifestyles affects our bones. Now, ordinary people like myself and Tony will ask, so you're going to tell us why when we get up in the morning at certain times of the day, there's a certain creaking that we hear, and that's what you're working towards finding out for us.
Yes. So a lot of people think that those of us who study evolution or fossils or, archaeology, a lot of the time a question I get is, but what does this apply to me today? What does this mean for me now? And actually, it is very important to understand our evolutionary history, especially in terms of our bodies. So throughout time, we've adapted and evolved to walk upright on two legs, but we had to compromise a lot within our own bodies so that we could support this unique way of moving about. So, for example, our shoulders are prone to injury, and that comes from our arboreal history. So we used to be in trees, our hominin ancestors, and we then evolved to, not be as active in trees and to walk on land. So all of these little changes in the body that facilitate this unique way of walking actually help us to understand our lifestyles today, looking at even things like bone disease, how active we are. And a lot of people think being active is good for our muscles or our weight, but it's actually also really good for our bones. So the more active we are, the stronger bones we have. So all of these things have kind of changed as we've, progressed into a lazier kind of lifestyle. I always say, Uber Eats will be the death of me leaving my house ever. And it's that kind of lack of activity that actually influences our bone and how our bone remodels. And so I look at that in the context of evolution, and then also applying it to understanding how diseases like osteoarthritis affect the integrity and strength of the joints of our lower limbs, especially the knee.
Well, that sounds like a very important field of study. Now, Kim, many of us come from communities and families where we are the first to do a certain job or go into a certain career or field of study. And I'm sure the same applies to you. Has that fueled your passion for communicating the science that you're studying so that you can get more young people from your community and more women of color to consider going into paleosciences and other linked fields of study?
Definitely. I think that across the board, sciences lack in diversity. I don't think that sciences are a true reflection of the South African peoples. And I think that causes a little bit of a lag and a loss to science, because science thrives in the face of diversity. Science thrives when we have different people from different backgrounds with different minds and different experiences bringing their questions to the table to improve our sciences ultimately. So I think that being a first generation, being a colored woman, being a black woman is so important, because we don't see ourselves reflected in these spaces. It's not for a lack of interest. We do need to account for and acknowledge structural inequality and structural barriers that prevent the retention and access to these scientific fields. So having more diverse minds only seeks to improve science in general. That's been proven through scientific studies, that diverse teams are producing more work and better quality work. And I think that's what we need to see, is a shift that is reflective of our demographics and reflective of our talent pool in the country, because I've been fortunate to work with many fantastic black women, black scientists, and I think that we bring a lot to the table. However, due to our history, there has been a lack of representation.
Indeed, amen to all of that. Thank you so much. Kim Tommy is a PhD candidate from the University of the Witwatersrand, a fascinating field of studies as she's laid out for us there. And she's just made the Mail and Guardian's top 200 young people in South Africa. Only 27 years old, and she's done so much. And we've had a couple of very interesting and hardworking and fascinating young people on the show today, and we wish them both all of the best.